Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baruch Kadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yata Zakba with the GMS Nebraska camp. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is how in this truth, as we are seeking to please Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and seeking to attain salvation, we are going to disappoint people in this world. We're going to let people down, in the aspect of family members, the people we may be in a relationship with, our children, our so-called friends in the world. There's a lot of situations where we have to cast aside, these worldly things or people in the world because we value this truth more, and Satan can play on that, because in this flesh, we can be worried about people's perceptions on how they may look at us or what they may think about us, what they may say about us. But that's why the scriptures say in Proverbs 29 and 25, the fear of man bringeth a snare. And that fear can be talking about fear as in, the harm a person can do to you, danger, but it's also the fear as in a certain respect you may be putting on somebody that shouldn't be there. It says the fear of man bringeth a snare. Because you're fearing what a person may think about you or, the judgment people may cast upon you, it can cause a snare, which is a trap. And that can make us that trap can make us move in a certain way that's not conducive to our productivity in the truth. That's not conducive to our relationship with Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. For example, a common thing that happens all the time, because it's happening all throughout the year, is these holidays. And you may have family members or a person that you're with that's still celebrating these holidays, that's still in the world, and they want you to compromise your beliefs in one way or another. When we understand that these are pagan holidays, we understand that we ain't supposed to be celebrating these things, but they want you to, like I said, compromise yourself to come, to basically partake with them. Or you may have children, and you get into a dispute with the person you with because they want the child to be doing certain things on holidays, but you don't want them to, and it causes arguments and things of the sort. But that's the thing: if we place our fear and men our fear in people's perceptions, then we're gonna be in that snare of compromising ourselves. We're gonna be in that snare of not holding true to how Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai wants us to walk. But it says what? But whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. So let's go to Galatians chapter 1, verse 10, which says, For do I now persuade men or the Most High? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Hamashiach. And that's the thing, because one of the main things that this truth requires is time. And that's in the aspect of going out to hit the highways, our studies, the lessons we have to do, fellowship with Akim, our class, all different types of things that take up time that, is in the aspect of the truth. But that when you give time to those things, it's taking away time from family. It's taking away time from fun or whatever it may be. It's taking away time from different things because you got the time you give to the truth, and then you got to work, then you need your sleep, and so because you're not giving time to these things, a person may start to become upset, or a person may start to react because of that. And if we're trying to please these people in the world and give them time or give them energy, the same type of energy we're supposed to be given in this truth, it would never work. That's why the scriptures say you cannot serve the Most High and mammon, because that word mammon, that's not just speaking about money. That's speaking about anything that can get in the way of our servitude towards Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, anything that we can place and value more than Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, we can't serve both. We have to pick a side, you know. So let's read this in the NLT, Galatians 1:10. It says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of the Most High. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Hamashiach's servant. Exactly, because let's go to Luke chapter 14, verse 26 real fast, which says, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. You know, and so that word hate isn't hate as in you're despising these people. Now, it comes to a point to where you may have to cut ties with family members. You know, there's a lot of situations where you have to cut ties with family, you know, but that's not always necessarily the case, because there is a balance to where we have, you know, we may have, you know, our wives in this truth, or we have our children, you know, and if we're able to balance this truth and taking care of the things, you know, at home, then we make that balance. But there's still this aspect of the scripture where it says that, you know, to come to Yahweh Shai, we have to hate, you know, all the things that it named. And that word hate there just means to love less. It's a prioritization, which means that we have to prioritize Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, this truth, the brotherhood, all these things above everything else, you know. And it says, if we can't do these things, then we can't be the Lord's disciple, you know. And so that's going to come with a lot of not pleasing people. That's going to come with a lot of disappointing people, you know. And if we lean to our flesh and we're worried about people's feelings, or, you know, it said not only about these external forces like our father, mother, wife, children, brethren, but it said our own life also, because we may have had certain dreams and certain things that we wanted to chase before we got into this truth, or certain things that we wanted to do while we was in the truth that we've had to cast aside, that we just got to let go of, you know. And so that we can prioritize this word. It says, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple, which means that we all have our burdens and sufferings that we have to go through in this truth. Every single one of us. None of us is going to get to salvation easily. You know, every single one of us has a path of a strait that we have to go through, a position of difficulty. It says, for which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether you have sufficient to finish it? Right, we have to count the cost, because we understand we should understand all the things that come with being a disciple of Yahweh Shai. We should understand that the sacrifices that come with it. You know, as a matter of fact, what comes to mind is, what about when the MOTB is being rolled out en masse, and it gets to a point where, you know, of course, we're in the mindset that we're not going to get it, but you have all your family around you that says that you need to get it, or you don't want your children to get it. But the energy that's going to be out there once that MOTB is pushed is that unless you get it, you evil. You know, because we understand once the MOTB is pushed that you won't be able to do anything in society, won't be able to buy or sell. It's going to be very hard. And people are going to look at you crazy if you don't want your children to get it, because they're going to think that you abusing them, you starving them, you doing this, you doing that. But they don't understand the hope and the faith that we have. And just like the first precept we brought out in that Proverbs, if we fearing men's perception, that will become a snare. We'll be like, man, like, I don't want them to look at me a certain way, like I'm doing this, you know, like, nah, man, we got to worry about how Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai views us, not how these people in the world view us, you know. So let's go to Matthew chapter 19 verse 29, which says, and everyone that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold. You know, so Let's get that word forsaken real fast, which is Strong's 863, which is the Greek word aphiemi, which is to send away, to bid, going away or depart, of a husband divorcing his wife, to send forth, yield up, to expire, to let go, let alone, let be, to disregard, and that's the thing. It says to omit, neglect, and so it says we have to neglect all these things that it's naming. At a majority of the time, there's a level of neglect that we have to have to this world so that we may properly attend to this truth. And that's just how it goes. And unless we can do that, well, what does it say? It says, for those who have forsaken these things shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. And that is what is supposed to be what's supposed to keep us in that mindset of being able to forsake these things, understanding that in the kingdom we're going to get it all back, understanding that the things that we sacrifice on this side, we're going to receive 100-fold on in the next life, or in the kingdom to come. If we've had to separate from certain people, or if we have to separate from children that we've had, or whatever the case may be, then we gonna have hundreds of children in the kingdom. We're gonna have hundreds of wives in the kingdom. We're gonna be flowing in riches in the kingdom. So if we've had to let go of a job opportunity because it got in the way of this truth, or a career path, and I don't mean a job like like some regular rinky-dink job that you could get it replaced. I mean, there's times where brothers have had career paths set out for them and lives made that they just had to let go of because it got in the way of the truth. And that's a hard thing to do. But we're willing to do that on this side because we understand how much more comes on the side in the kingdom, And let's grab this last precept, because this is just how it goes. And Yahweh Shai, this is the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because it says in Matthew 10:35, for I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So this is not only realistic, the things that I'm speaking about in this lesson, where we'll be having to neglect certain things and disappoint people, let people down, but this is an expectation from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, that if we're prioritizing these things more above the Lord, then we're not worthy of being the Lord's disciples. We're not worthy of salvation. It's within the Lord's will that people are gonna be falling out with each other. And I'm sure that a lot of us in this truth have stories of us falling out with people in the world for the truth's sake, and there's a lot more sacrifice that's to come. What we've gone through so far isn't the end. It's going to get to a point to where we're going to have to let go of more and more and more as we get closer and closer to the end. And that's just how it goes, and Lord willing, the Spirit can be on us, that we continue to keep our faith strong and keep our hopes set on the kingdom, to understand that this world ain't worth it, and keeping a spiritual mind. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baruch HaKodesh. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and a salutation unto the elect.